recording on. You all have a fresh one. All right, ladies, welcome to the first session for your webinar mastermind. Let me move this. I'm gonna move it over here so I won't be looking away from you guys. So pause, stop share, share screen, and there we go. All right, so the first session is the components of a profitable webinar presentation, okay? And I will give you a copy of this. So it's gonna already be in your folder, but I always like to go through the components of a profitable presentation. Now, here's the thing. In the webinar masterclass bootcamp world, things change every single week. So don't judge me if you heard me say something 45 days ago and I changed it today, all right? Stuff changes. And 4 weeks from now, it might change back. Just roll with it, okay? And the reason why I say that is because people are getting away from the traditional 60-minute, 90-minute webinars. Now, you know, people like Taria and myself who are really passionate about what we do. So therefore, we want to get as much information in as possible. It's going to take 90 minutes to 2 hours. Yeah. Easily. But I don't want you guys to feel like you have to, okay? Don't feel bad if your first webinar presentation is 45 minutes. Like, I'm not going to even fuss at you, okay? I'm not. It's all good. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break them down in increments, like minutes, so that you can gauge yourself when you're doing this presentation, all right? Fair enough? Now, here's what I will say. You got to give this presentation at least 8 times. You got to give it at least 8 times. Here, let me tell you why you have to give it at least 8 times. The first 1 or 2 times, you're going to have technical difficulties. No, I'm not trying to jinx you. No, it's not the law of attraction. If you've never done it, you're going to have some technical difficulties. I'm just saying, the mic might not work. You might get like me and be talking and be like, hey, girl, my mic is off. I'm telling you. I'm telling you I've done it, okay? So I'm just saying, like, prepare yourself for something to happen. I talked for about 4 minutes before I realized, and I've been doing this for 8 years. I talked for 4 minutes before I realized the daggone mic was off. I have talked for 15 minutes before I realized that I wasn't even recording. Let me make sure I'm recording this for y'all, okay? See? So that's why I tell you to do it 8 times, because the first and second time you're getting used to the technology. And we'll talk a little bit later about the systems that I want you to use or the systems that I recommend. The second time you're going to get used to doing your opening, which we're going to talk about. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. A lot of times I kind of walk you through my presentation because it helps me to teach you of kind of what to expect and what to say and why I say it. Then the next time you're going to be going through kind of like your core content and really getting comfortable with your core content. That's twice, so that's 4 times. So 5 and 6 is you getting used to your close, right? Because this is where you sell. Now, if you have not done a lot of sales conversations, this can be really tricky. You can do a fantastic job up until you get to the end of that webinar. Then you go out here and embarrass me. I'm just saying. All right. So I'm gonna help y'all out so y'all don't get embarrassed me. All right. Now, and in the final 7th and 8th time, you're basically pulling all the pieces together that I'm teaching you. And you're pulling it together to get a profitable presentation. Got it? Got it. All right. So you know what? Go knock out 1 and 2. Like once I give you this, you know what? Be like, man, I'm gonna knock out 1 and 2 by the time we get back in 2 weeks. You heard? Yeah. She's like, what? All right, so we're gonna go through as the webinar mastermind. We're gonna go through like basically there's 3 or 4 core areas, right? So the opening takes about 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't necessarily have to take that long, but this is a great way for you to gauge yourself of how long it should take. Okay. All right. So we always start out with a title slide, and you want to make sure your title speaks to the results that they're going to get and the pain points. So this is the example. My audience want leads, right? And then they don't want to take a long time to get those leads. So I may do a webinar on how to generate 200 leads in 30 days, right? We want it to be enticing enough or interesting enough where it piques their interest to get them to register. And here, I gave you 3 different examples of, webinar titles. And if you need help with your webinar titles, don't hesitate to ask, for assistance with your webinar titles. As a matter of fact, we're just going to change this up because that's assignment number 1. Create your webinar title. Assignment number. And this might not be the only assignment. It comes to me. Create your webinar title. Yep. There you go. And you'll submit it within 2 weeks. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. So here's another example. Number 1 tool to generate leads without using paid ads. Number 1 tool to notice I have a formula for everything I do. Insert the solution without the pain point, right? I'm going to put this in y'all chat just so y'all can have it. Right? That's kind of the formula that I use in order to create the webinar title. So you could say 5 strategies to insert solution without then the pain point. All right. So I want you to use that formula as a guideline for creating your webinar title. Now, here's another example: how to fill your online course and generate your next 10K. How to stay top of mind with your ideal client. These are just examples for me because these are the pain points that I deal with. So come up with at least 3 options and we can weed out the best one for you. Sounds good? Excellent. Now, when it comes to the introduction, the reason why you're not talking about yourself to brag, you're not talking about yourself to talk about your accomplishments, all that kind of stuff. Like for real, people don't really care. They don't care whether we have degrees or not, because we all do. Like most of us do. We got letters behind our name. Yeah, we do. Did it generate you 6K in your business? Did it generate you 10K a month in your business? Did that doctorate, did that MBA DeKesha? Did it? Oh, okay. Well, all right, then, great. But what you are doing is developing rapport and establishing your credibility. This MBA, this doctorate, these initials gives me the credibility to teach you what it is that I'm teaching you. Number 1, I have experience in the field. Number 2, I've got the education to back it, right? So that's why when you do this, we're sharing our journey. We're sharing our experience, not to brag, not to boast, but to say, hey, baby, I got this. I've been doing this for a while. Okay? Let me show you just how long I've been doing this. And so this is where I introduce myself and I show them that I'm qualified to teach this topics. Now, I tell everybody I love stats in this perspective. Like when it comes to this part of my webinar, I love to start with stats. Stats get people attention. And you could throw some stats at me and I'll be like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. Only 1% of it don't even matter what the stat is. As long as it sounds good, you're going to get their attention. So look at stats that are relatable in your industry based on what you teach. So for me, I may say something like, and I use this in my Facebook ad copy too, only 3% of the people that you're talking to are ready, willing, and able to buy. What about the other 97% of people that's out here? And I get people attention. Because what you're doing is you're trying to compete against everyone else that's running ads for the 3%. Stop competing. You don't have to. And then in this presentation, I'm going to teach you how you can target the other 97%. Boom, stat, right? So get you some stats if you don't already have some stats that will help validate the teaching points that you're getting ready to teach over the next 45 minutes. All right. Then I start to tell a little bit about my story and why it is that I started on this path. So I may talk a little bit about why I use webinars. DeShonda may talk about why she started childcare business and why she wants to show others. And Dr. Kimika, you talk about, remind me again, I think it is.
Right now it's grief and overcoming grief through writing.
Overcoming grief through writing. I like that. Any particular audience?
Men.
Oh, I know that's my mom, doctor. Go ahead.
Men and women right now.
Any particular grief? That's what I'm sorry.
Okay. I coach women who have experienced pregnancy or infant loss.
That's what I thought. Okay. I couldn't remember. So your message is around you said infant loss?
Pregnancy and infant loss.
Pregnancy and infant loss. Okay. So this is where you would start to tell your journey of your experience and why this is so near and dear to your heart. Right? What this does for both of you, it shows them that you've been where they are. Right? I get you. Most people want to work with someone who gets them. Like Dr. Kimika gets me. Like she's been there. You can't be telling me about how to cope with the loss of a baby when you ain't never lost nobody. And I can only say this to you with a smile on my face because I remember sitting in college and I lost my baby in class.
Wow.
Yeah, literally. Now, the fact that you said wow proves my point. Because you would never know unless I said something. This is what I love about what we do. This is what I love about what we do. It makes us come out of our comfort zone and share our stories. And you know what it does? It creates connection. Tell me when I said that, you go, ooh, could you not relate to it? Could you feel it?
Yes, I could.
You're like, dang, D, I ain't know that. Coach D, But so, and I love to do that because the same way you felt, whatever it is that you felt when I said it, is what they're going to experience when you say it. Got it? So that's where, so when you are sharing, both of you ladies, when you're sharing in this beginning, you gotta feel what you're sharing. And that's why I make you do it so many times, because you got to practice giving this message. And I know Taria teaches you presentation skills like and things like that, right? And we've already had this conversation. We feel like we're in alignment. Some of it is going to cross. However, mine may be just it may come off different, but it's the same, it's the same end goal. So I do want you to feel your story when you're telling it. And it always helps to humble us so that we can know where we came from too. So when I tell my story, I transition back into why we're here, right? So my story kind of shifts me back into, so let me bring us back as to why we're here today, right? And then I'm basically showing them why writing, because that's your vehicle of transformation. That's what I call it. It's your vehicle or your ultimate goal of transformation. It's the technique that you use in order to get the results that you desire in your business or in your life. So if you desire healing, you write. If you desire a method to, build build a business so that you can create what I love to call a lifestyle, you start a childcare business. Let me show you how to get a childcare business up and running so that you can be your own boss and you can create this lifestyle where she's out here in the park with her kids over the weekend. Yeah, I saw you, Deshaun. I don't know if you can hear me on. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So this is what I mean by know your audience. Got it? And so this is where you transition into why you went down this path. Like, why childcare? Why writing? How did it help you? Why did it help you? Right? What was the moment where you went, me writing in all these 16 journals is really helping me go through this process? At what point do you remember that? That's a part of your story, right? And it should really only take you 10 or 15 minutes. You notice it's already 6:23 and I'm still on the opening. So we got to keep going. Okay. All right. So what is your ultimate goal of transformation? Is there a specific tool or technique that you use for transformation? Sounds like writing is yours. Sounds like the business, the childcare business itself is yours, right? So that is your signature technique. It's writing. Okay. So you're going to talk a little bit about that. That's what we're here today. Then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about objections that they're going to automatically have or any misconceptions that they'll have about the process of healing through infant loss, the process of building a business, building a childcare business, any type of business, right? What are some misconceptions? Just, you have to think about, and you may have dealt with objections already. So think about some of the rebuttals that people give you that you've already received. And we address them early on. We're going to address them real early on because I'm going to go ahead and sit you right back down in your seat because I know you already got something to say. You here, you got your blockers up. You mentally blocked from what I'm about to tell you. But if I tell you it's a misconception and here is why, immediately the gate comes down. Never thought about it like that. One of the blocks that I get is nobody will show up to my webinars. That's not true. I got 35 ways for you to promote your webinar in the next 90 days. I can show you exactly how to get 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. By the time you know, you'll have 50 people registered. Yeah. See what I'm saying? Like, it's the objections. What do you have to bring that wall down? All right. It takes about 7 to 10 minutes. I usually do about 3. So I'll say something like, a lot of people feel like webinars don't convert. And I heard this one all the time. Nobody's going to show up to my webinar, right? And I can give a testimonial or a case study for each of these ones. I can give a case study. I can give a testimonial. A lot of times I develop my content to address the misconceptions. So point number 1, how to get more people to show up to your webinar. You can't see that tell me. You see what I'm saying? Point number 2, how to double your conversions when the webinar is over. So you can't tell me that you can't make money from a webinar. I do this stuff in my sleep, y'all. Literally. I do it in my sleep. So a lot of times when I'm talking and when I'm teaching, I'm automatically shooting you down for what I think you might say when I say, come on, let's do these webinars. Oh, but I'm not techie. I'm not techie. Got one for that too. See where I'm going? So if you can list about 3 to 4 objections that people are going to say, baby, we can build a whole presentation around it. And why they need to work with you. Because that's the whole point of this. This is what I don't want y'all to miss. Like, we can speak on stages. We can submit our information for speaking opportunities. But how often are you really travel to speak? Once a quarter? Once a month? Once every other week? Another 14 to 16 days. I hope you're building your own platform. That's what the purpose of this is. This is so you can continuously to get your message to your audience without leaving the company home, baby. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So now we're going to get to the main content. Okay. Main content. I know it's going to surprise y'all. 15 minutes. What? 15, 20 minutes. I'm telling y'all, listen, if your introduction is 10 to 15 minutes, and then the misconceptions is 7 and 10 minutes, we already 20 to 25 minutes into the webinar. We can talk to her half an hour. We still ain't taught yet. I see it all the time. I'll be like, God, dog, she talked 30 minutes and she still ain't taught me nothing. This is why I say you can trim it down just a little bit if you want to, okay? But sometimes as you're getting started, you have to start there so you can get your point across. But then I go into my main points, right? Key point number one tool to generate leads without using paid ads. I've already hit the objection. And this is an exercise where I'm going to show you how to generate 200 leads in 30 days. It goes back to my objections. Okay, so I'm going to explain what is a lead. You see what I'm saying? Why is it important? These are the questions. And if you're a teacher, DeShonda might can even relate to this, right? If you're a teacher, they teach you this in school, y'all. This how I got on my exit exam, y'all. So when I was in college, we had an exit exam. Like you had to write your way out of college. Mind you, I was a fashion major. I'm like, give me some math. Let me do a buying assimilation, something like this. You want me to write? I ain't took English since my freshman year, but all right, anyway. Here's what I remember from school. Got it? What, why, where, how, when. If we can answer those questions, we can write a whole paper. And it's pretty much the same. Like if I give you a key point, if it talks about one of the ways to deal with grief, right? You're going to give me an example of something that I can do to deal with grief. Well, what is it? Why is it important? Right? How can doing this impact your life? Not how to do it, but how can it impact your life or your business if you follow the steps that I'm giving you? Got it? Is this making sense? So it's a methodology to this. And people don't understand. They just think, oh, I'm just taking some content and teaching it. No, there's a methodology to the madness. There's a strategy to everything we do in a webinar. Now, what you're doing is every time you teach their key point and you validate it, it creates the trust factor. Okay. So then you got key point number 2. And this could be, you can actually use the same formula, how to insert solution without pain point. Because if you notice, how to fill your online course, and generate your next 10K marketing strategies. The first one was the number 1 tool to generate leads without using paid ads, right? So again, use the same formula for your key points. And the reason why knowing these key points are important in advance, because this is what's going to go on your webinar registration page. And we'll talk about that. This is the information that's going on. When you write the copy for your webinar registration page, these are the 3 bullet points. Here's what you're going to learn. And it's the same bullet points that's inside the webinar. Okay? Make sense? All right. So I might teach 5 strategies to you to fill your webinar. So strategy number 1 is using social media. Y'all finna see this webinar this Thursday. I'm playing. Use social media. Use social media, email marketing, SMS marketing, joint venture partners. And then I show them how, like I like to do a lot of exercises in my training. So I can do an exercise in my training, show them visually. And a lot of people say, I really like that slide that you had when you showed us the numerical points of you need, 30 people every single week, 120 people every single month, and you can close 3 people every week. You can close 12 people every month. People like to visually see that. So I try to give visual exercises or visual displays, demonstration when I'm training. Because you have to remember people are auditory, kinesthetic, and then what's the other one? They're listeners, like auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, right? So that's how people learn. So I try to deliver where I'm tapping all 3. So you have a PowerPoint, you have me talking, but then I'm giving you an exercise or some type of, something that you can do together while we're on this webinar. All right. Now, so those are key points. For every key point, try to use a case study and or a testimonial. So for this one, how to fill your online course and generate your next 10K, I always give an example of the client that made $20,000 on her first webinar. She may have had less than 100 people. And she sold a $997 program. That's it. But I'm giving them a testimonial of a client that I work with who got the results of key point that I'm teaching, right? So I'm not just saying this to make you feel glitzy and glam and make you feel good. No, it really happened. All right, it really happened. All right, cool. Yes. So then 2 ways to close. All right, close number one, and Taria and I talk about this too. So close number one is actually when you sell from the webinar and you do an offer stack. That means you probably have about 10 to 12 slides that you're going through for the entire close, the duration. So this is actually if you're selling your course live from your webinar presentation, from your webinar. Now, what does that look like? That looks like you going through the offer, you telling them what's included. Key point here. Listen, we'll talk about this later. Focus on the benefits. So a lot of times we'll say, like, here's an example. Okay, you're going to get an 8-week course. You're going to get a private Facebook group. You're going to get some templates and some scripts. Those are features. What's the benefit of us working together for 8 weeks, right? And then you insert the value amount. So if I had to put a dollar amount of value on how much this 8-week course would cost, that's what you would put on your slide. If I had to put a value of my time where I'm engaging with you in the private Facebook group, that's how I value the worth of a Facebook group, right? And then the same with the value of the template. If I could sell my templates or my scripts by itself, what would that value look like? But what I also want you to understand is if you're giving someone a template, if you're giving someone a journal, what's the benefit of them using that journal in their business or in their life? So yeah, you're going to get a journal with my program, but why is that important for you? What transformation happens for you because you received a journal from me? If I'm going to give you private access to Vox or Telegram or something like that, okay, that's great. But what's the benefit for you? Well, I'm going to tell you like this, and I tell clients all the time. Like, if you get Telegram access to me, you can catch me faster than you'll catch me on Facebook. Because I know that clients that are in high-level programs are on Telegram, it stays up on my computer right here. Stays right there. Right there. It's on my cell phone. If you hit me in the DM in Facebook, you might get one of my VAs that's promoting something for us. See what I'm saying? There's a difference. So here's a benefit of the access, exclusive access to DeKesha. I can count on my hand how many clients got my personal cell phone number. And I don't answer DM. So how would you like it if you had a direct line to Dr. Kamika? What would you pay for that? I'm just saying. When you having one of those moments where you reminiscing, you thinking back, and you say, you know what? If only Dr. Kamika was here right now. Telegram what? That's how I sell it, y'all. I can sell anything. I can sell anything. You just give it to me. So that's the difference between the features and the benefits. Make sense? Okay, cool. So when you're listing out your closing slides, you do want to give your features, that's what's included, but then you also want to give the benefits. What's the transformation that's going to happen by them having access to that? Then we restate what the offer is. So if you have a 6-week program, an 8-week program, a coaching program, whatever it is, you restate the name of the program. And then I always do like a fast action bonus for those of you all that purchase right now. Here's what we're going to get with it. So they might get a ticket to an event. They might get a free 30-minute session with me. They might get something. Oh, look at that. See, bonus. Here's your bonus. Pay in full bonus. So anyone who pays in full, I give them a high value offer. Like something that they can't resist. All right. Because we like paying full clients. We love clients that pay on a retainer, but we like paying for clients. So here are some ideas of some things that you can give, like you can give tickets to an event, or you can create a offer that solves an immediate problem. So for me, like I get a lot of people sometimes to be like, well, I haven't created my course yet. So you know what I do? Now, for those of you all that joined today, we're going to give you a bonus offer on how to create a course in 30 days or less. Now, I don't do course creation, like I can teach it, but it's not something that I promote. Oh, baby. But what you're not going to do is say, I'm not ready or I'm not going to purchase because I don't have a course. Because guess what? I got a bonus that's going to show you how to create a course in 30 days. Immediately solves a problem. Dr. Can you go ahead? I'm a salesperson. But let me ask y'all something. Does this feel salesy?
No, it doesn't.
Not the way you stated it, don't. No.
See what I'm saying? So this is how you sell without being salesy. Because basically what we're shifting it back on them. Like, this is baby, this is why you need it. This is what's going to happen if you don't get it. Like, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just being honest right now. Right? So that's how we do it. And then I like to buy a vanity URL, or because you have BPC systems, you can use the unique links in the BPC system. So you can do like drkamikahenson.com/webinars/masterclass. You see what I'm saying? And you can use that all the time. So, because I always like to say, I like to use a vanity URL to drive traffic to my sales page. So I might have something like, getitchdonecoaching.com/free offer or something like that, webinar offer. So I'll know that one is for the webinar. But I used to have, and I might still have it, the webinarsuccessblueprint.com. And so that's in a lot of webinars. And that was my first course that we created that took us to 10K months. And then you can direct the CTA directly to your sales page, right? All right. And then so we probably about an hour in now. Okay, I have 15 minutes in. Depending, I like to talk. Y'all see, I can talk, right? I can expand on any topic. But then we open it up for Q&A, 15 minutes, frequently asked questions. So here's what I do. I come to the call with questions. So some people are saying, well, how long is the program? That's a great question, DeShonda. Let me go ahead and answer that for you. She ain't asked. No, most people are already asked. So I love to come to my webinars with like questions that I know people are going to ask. Are your trainings live or are they recorded? Okay, that's a great question. So all my trainings are live, and then the recordings will be housed in the membership area specifically for you. How long do we have access to the recording? That's a great question too, because we used to do lifetime access. I think we're going to change that real soon. A lot of people don't do lifetime access no more. Is there a payment plan? So these are like 4 typical questions that most people will ask the end of every single webinar. So I like to always come to the webinar with some of these questions. And then what you do is you listen to the additional questions that people ask you that come to your webinar and write them down. So you already know, like, again, great question, Jesse. Great question, Kim. Like, you already know. And so you just add it to your frequently asked questions. So every time you do the webinar, you're answering those questions, you're adding additional questions, or watch this. You might even change some of your key points based on the questions that are asked. So if one of the key points if one of the questions fall back under your key points, you can actually change your webinar presentation to make sure you address that next time so that question doesn't come up again. Make sense? Perfect. So again, you got your opening, 10 to 15 minutes. You got your objections, 7 to 10 minutes. You have your key points for about 20 minutes. And then your closing is going to be about Your closing should be about 15 to 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, a lot for the FAQs too, a lot for the frequently asked questions as well. So do you ladies have any questions about the key components to a profitable presentation?
I have a question, but it's not about the key components.
Mhm. Sure, what's your
I have a
question?
question. Oh, I'm sorry. Was you going, Dr. Kamika?
Yes, girl.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How do I generate 200 leads in 30 days?
You want my bonus? Let me find out here. I actually think, let me see, because I think I did a video on it. I have a video. It tells you. It'll walk you right through it. I think I do. In fact, go ahead. Let me see. Because it's honestly, it's real easy. And even if I tell you now, you may or may not remember it. So basically what I do is, once I know who my audience is, I set up, like I have a Facebook group, right? So I'll plan to get about 10 to 15 registrations from my Facebook group. I'll create an event on LinkedIn and I'll plan to get about 10 or 15 people from LinkedIn. I'll go live and I plan on getting 10, 15 from my live. Do the math because I stopped.
Okay.
So 10, 15, or let's just say 20, 20, and 20. That's 60 already. Got it?
Mhm.
Then I'm gonna send out an email because I got an email database. Then I'm gonna send out a text message. I'm gonna get the most from those two. I can get 30 from them by itself. So I'm already at 100. If I do the webinar twice, I'll double it. That's 200. That's the easy way of it. I mean, that's the fastest way for me to kind of tell you what I'm doing. Give you my inside scoop. Right now? Mm-hmm. I feel like I did a I feel like I did a specific training on it. All right, what was your question, DeShonda?
Yes, I had a question. I guess I could put it in the homework, but I think for me is I almost got like two different titles. Like I got the one that I started because I got two stories. Like I have my first story when I first got started, and then I have another story when I went from the point of 2019 when I came back into the business, which is
Okay.
more so for how I activated my gift to start the daycare. But like the first story tells of my reason why I started it the first time in like 2006. So I think that's kind of where I'm torn between the two because I kind of have almost two signature stories that can almost have two different webinars.
Well, the stories can change. It's not going to change the content of the webinar. Because you got to remember the content of the webinar are the key points that you want them to learn, to take away. What are the key components that you want them to take away? And I mean, it depends on the stories. Like, give me a short, give me a 60-second version of story number one.
Story number one is just that I guess after the loss of my child and didn't trust nobody, how I opened up the daycare because I knew if I felt this way, other moms out there that felt the same way. But then when my first piece that I've been trying to do a webinar for years was on how to set up that solid foundation, which it kind of goes along with the 2019 story, how when I came back in the field and how having that 6-figure home daycare business, it all started with having that business set up the right way.
I would go with that one.
Okay. Thank you.
I would go with that one because you can incorporate, you said losing your child, right?
The first one was the one when I had the child, and after that happened, the miracle baby, I didn't trust nobody. And
So you can always incorporate that into your main story.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to separate the two.
Okay.
Yeah. And you still teach about the six-figure business and then having basic stemming from a firm foundation.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I guess almost I can make that firm foundation just one point, one key point, and not try to make it all 3 points, right?
Yeah, because you want
I
them.
think
I
that's what
mean,
I was
I'm pretty
trying to
sure there's a
gather.
whole lot more to running a successful daycare.
Okay. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that you can find several other talking points besides the firm foundation. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Great question. Anything else, my ladies?
No,
I
but
told
just put our homework assignment in the folder, right?
Yes. So y'all have a new, hold on, y'all got a new folder. I did. I did a folder and I called it Q2 for you ladies. Well, it should be right here. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. Webinar, second quarter. All right, so I'm gonna put week 1 webinar. And then once the recording is available, it'll be in here. So get link. Copy link. Do y'all mind if I put y'all in a group together on Telegram?
I
Is
don't
that
know.
okay?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Oh, I might have to add you. Hold on. Okay, I got DeShonda. Do I have to add the oh, hold on, y'all.